So today what we thought we would do is look at something that we perhaps discussed slightly in the last episode where we talked about smoking pets. We're going to be talking about inspections. Now, hopefully we'll cover how often, what landlords can check, but inspections often get seen as landlords checking up on tenants, but done properly, they're actually one of the best ways to prevent problems. Welcome to the All Things Property podcast with me, Simon Bacon of Preferential Properties. Every week, Ian Sadler and I will delve into all things property. We'll guide you through with friendly, no-nonsense advice. Welcome to the All Things Property podcast with me, Simon Bacon.
And me, Ian Sadler.
So Ian, what's your purpose of doing an inspection?
Well, I try and keep it efficient but as low-key and casual as possible. I will message tenants to say...
No, I'm asking you a question. What's the purpose of the inspection?
To make sure the property is not being abused,
okay,
and to maintain a relationship with the tenant.
Okay. Let's take the first bit then.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily say abuse, but that's a bit strong, a bit harsh for someone who's so
Careful.
Thoughtful as you. So in terms of an inspection, it's not just checking up. It's not checking up on the tenant, is it? Or
Okay,
is
no,
it?
it's not. Okay, I'll retract that abuse comment.
Okay.
Really a case of spotting any issues, I guess. Any
Yeah.
potential grey, dodgy areas.
Yeah. And do you find that tenants see it as an intrusion or
No.
No.
Well, I hate to bang on about communication, but you send a message to a tenant saying time for catch up, a visit, etc. And very often you get back, why are you doing this? It's landlord selling the property. And you get a hackles raised reaction. So diffusing that at the start is important. And making it, say it is to look around the property and make sure everything's okay, but also to maintain a relationship with you, see how you're doing, how you're getting on in the area with the property and so on. So you can diffuse aggression or confrontation by doing that.
I mean, one of the things, I think I probably, maybe in the last episode I mentioned it, where I do say to people when I'm showing them round that, you know, we do come and do inspections. So allowing us to come and do that, again, tenancy agreement, it clearly sets out that we will come and do, that the landlord or us will come and do property inspections on a regular basis. But it is, you know, there is this thought, I think, by people sometimes that inspections are an intrusion into, you know, their living in a property, but it's not about that, is it? It's about just making sure that the property is being looked after and that maintenance issues are being promptly reported. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
How often would you say is reasonable to be doing an inspection?
I've always felt that 4 times a year is too many, so I would now do them once every 4 months.
Okay, right.
I think it can be perceived to be a bit in their faces to be there 4 times in a year. Maybe for the initial 6 months.
I was going to say, do you not tailor it?
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised you do because you're normally so rigid. But you could tailor it for the first 6 months, maybe after 3 months and 6 months. But after that, when you've got a feel for the situation, 4 months. I've had them where I've left them 6 months because I know that.
And I think I don't disagree with you. I think that for me, it's very much, to start with, the first inspection is probably one of the most important ones. It's the first time you get to see how the property is being looked after. So, you know, every 3 months, perhaps to start with, for the first 2 or 3, and then move to 4 months or maybe move to 6 months. And if a tenant's been in there for, you know, a number of years, then, you know, a 6-month inspection is more than adequate, isn't it?
I've heard of managing agents that do inspections and take photographs of the property throughout the inspection. You do?
We do, yeah. And
do you not find that?
It's amazing. So the photos We used to find when we sent, see, this will be the difference. Let me ask you the question before I answer it. When you send your written inspections, because I know what yours will be a very general written inspection.
All good.
You send off to landlord, yeah, had a look, all nice, thank you very much. If you notice some maintenance issues, but they're not, major issues, or they're things to keep aware of, how often would your landlord contact you and say, Ian, I noticed on my report that there was a crack in the, in the bedroom wall. Nothing major, nothing, you hadn't thought, I really need to deal with that, but it's just an observation. How many times would landlords actually come back to you and go, yeah, can you look into that for me?
Look into the crack?
No, look into the issue.
Oh, right.
Numpty.
Really? I'm immensely trusted by my landlords.
Yeah, but that implies I'm not. Which again,
I wouldn't dream it. I'm sure you're far more rigorous with your administration
No, but
than I am.
It's not about. See, again, is it about trust? What's the point of doing inspection if you don't get any comment back from a landlord? What's the point? How many of your landlords actually look at them? I'm asking a question. In your opinion, how many landlords look at your inspections?
It's like apples and pears, isn't it, with your business and my business? It's completely different. I almost have, rightly or wrongly in your view, autonomy on the management of that portfolio. So it would be.
But we're talking here to landlords in general. What could they expect from an inspection? So,
A, the place is okay. B, this is a maintenance issue. Two things.
And what we used to find was that we would send out our inspection reports, and some landlords would come back to us. We then started taking photographs of the properties, of issues relating to repairs. So, for example,
So
line scale or an issue with a tap or a crack on a wall. A photograph speaks 1,000 words, and actually, if a landlord gets a photo that shows, an outside patio that's perhaps dipped slightly, they're more likely to come back to us and say, "Can you have a look at that for me? Can you get someone out to look at that?" Than a written, sentence.
I maybe you misinformed me when you told me how you did it. I had visions of you taking photographs of the oven and the hob and the fridge freezer.
No.
Okay, I accept that.
We will take pictures of the gardens, and we'll take a picture of each room. And if there is a specific maintenance issue, such as, a bit of, a damp patch on a wall, or a stain on a wall, or, some mould spots around a window, a photograph covers two things. One, it's a good documentation, good record, and B, it really does show a landlord the condition of the property.
Well, I'm so glad that I've actually got something from this episode, because I'm going to probably start using that photograph thing and using the patio analogy. It paves the way for the landlord.
Very good.
Thank you.
You're on form, aren't you?
I am. It paves the way. The landlord has been, he may forget, but you can point out, well, I did point this out 6 months ago. It's got to the stage now where I think something really needs to be done about it.
Yeah.
It smooths the way communication.
Yeah. And the way I always say to tenants is, it's a way of trying to make sure that if there are issues, that landlords can see the issue, can understand it, and they are more likely to address it. And often it's been a complaint of tenants that, the landlord's not interested, the landlord hasn't done anything, I reported it last time you were here, landlord hasn't done anything about it. The photographs has really helped that.
Thanks for that.
The communicate, you were saying about communicate, we bang on about communication. If you explain to tenants that actually, yes, we'll come and we'll take photographs. It's not about, have you done your washing up? Have you made your bed? Have you done this? Have you done that? It's about a landlord going, yeah, the property's being looked after. It almost develops and furthers that landlord's trust in, the way that the tenants are managing their property. And it's, I don't know who said it, but you know, a picture paints 1,000 words.
You said it earlier.
I did, didn't I? Yeah, I can't be attributable to that though. However, it's true. You show a landlord 6 photos of their property, it means much more to them than it does just a couple of lines.
Okay, so that's good, and I will adopt that. Thank you very much for that.
Okay.
So you see the hob's a mess, or the oven's a mess, or the kitchen floor's filthy. You point that out to the tenants at the time.
Okay, I think this is where your gut feeling comes in terms of, you know, is it at the point where, well, someone needs to come in and give it a good clean, or is it just normal? You know, they've rushed out the door to work because of something, and you know they haven't done their washing up, or they cooked last night and they haven't cleaned the hob after them. That's the subjective part, and I don't see inspections as being that, because you know you can get a property cleaned at the end of a tenancy.
Yeah, that's my point.
You know, you're not judging how a tenant lives. What you want to do is the property overcrowded? Is there evidence of smoking pets again? You know, is there excrement in the garden? Is there, you know, are there repairs that you've noticed? Is there mould appearing? You need to talk and find out about condensation, that sort of stuff. That's the purpose of it, not, you know, oh, they haven't made their bed today, so that's really, you know, they're not a good tenant. Nothing to do with that. You know, if they haven't done their washing, or they've got a pile of washing on the floor because they're about to put it in the washing machine when they get back.
I think you're digressing here.
Am I? Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what road you're going down, but...
No, okay. I was talking about property inspections, what they're for, what we look for, and trying to reassure tenants that, you know, it's not a judgment on how they live.
No.
It's about identifying issues with the property that we can say to a landlord, this probably needs doing. Or from a landlord's perspective, I don't know, external redecoration is a good one. You know, being able to say to the landlord, look, probably in a year's time, you can see the paint's peeling on the wooden windows. In a year's time or 18 months, you might want to think about putting aside some money for some external redecoration. That's the whole purpose of an inspection. And I think, you know, one of the real key takeaways is making sure that you do respect tenants' privacy, so they do feel that it's a partnership rather than,
yeah, absolutely,
you know, rather
100%.
than an imposition. What do you do if a tenant refuses access? Do you ever have tenants who go, no, you're not coming in? Have you ever turned up to one and the tenant's gone, I didn't get the letter, so you can't come in?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't send letters. I send WhatsApp messages or emails.
Okay.
So it's
yeah,
writing.
we do emails. But you know, there are occasions sometimes when we've turned up at property and a tenant said, no, I'm sorry, you can't come in. It's not convenient.
What can you do? You can't go in.
No, you can't go in. But would that raise any alarm bells?
Oh yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so all you can do is you know, you can't go in, but you know, we just say to the tenant, okay, well, we do need to come back and do it. Can you please contact the office and make an arrangement within the next
And if they
2
say
weeks
no again?
to do that? But we do very clearly, well, what we do say to, when we write out, is we do so many that, you know, it's impossible to start rearranging every single one, and the tenancy agreement does state that we can access property using our keys if they're not going to be there.
That's all very well having clauses, but if you don't adhere to them, you won't be able to get in.
No, and you can't go in. But I've got to be honest and say, since we explain to tenants what we're doing and why we're doing it, we have very, very few who even rearrange them now.
You've softened right up, haven't you? Your approach to relationships, communication.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I have or haven't. I think it's, you know,
Sounds to me like you have.
the longer you're in the business, the more you do really recognise that communication between all parties is what makes the job so much easier.
Communication prevents confrontation.
Excellent.
Who said
Very
that?
good. Yeah. So in my more formal language, done well, they improve relationships.
Okay.
So just to round up this particular episode, I think, what I would be saying is regular, respectful inspections protect both the property and the relationship, and they are about maintenance, not intrusion. Thank you for that, Ian.
You're more than welcome.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the All Things Property podcast. If you found this episode useful, don't forget to subscribe, like and share. These things really help us reach the people who need to hear this advice. See you next week.